Hi, today we're going to talk about the VI editor in Linux. Now, so far we've learned about how to create empty files with the touch command, for example. But what if we want to put data into those files? Or we have some existing data, whether it's in a data file or in a script, and we want to edit that. So for both of those situations, we need some kind of an editor. We are going to talk about the VI editor because that's built into all Linux and, in fact, Unix platforms. And we can use that to both put data into files and to edit existing data. Now, some people get scared of the VI editor, and that's rightly so because it's very powerful. Lots of things can be done in many different ways. So it can be confusing for the beginners. However, what I'm going to do here is give you a small subset of commands, basically 10 commands, and that will allow you to do the most common things that you need to do with the editor and with ease. So think of this as the no tears version of the VI editor. There's three modes in this. So we will look at the input mode, which means how do you put data into it? That's the input mode. How do you input data into a file? That's one thing you want to do with the editor. The second is the command mode. And what happens with that is we can copy and paste, we can delete, we can move around up and down, left and right, and we can undo something we did by mistake. So all of those common things that an editor should be able to do can be done with the command mode. And the third mode is what's called a last line mode. And here we can do things like search for a pattern, forward and backward, or display the next occurrence of that pattern. We can search and replace, and we can save what we've typed or edited, and finally we can quit, either save and quit or quit without saving. So those are the common things that you would want to do with any editor, right? And we are going to be able to do that with the VI editor if you stay with just these 10 commands. Everything I'm going to show you here can be done in other ways. So if you are already familiar with some other commands and want to use them, that's fine. But we'll stick to these very simple ways of doing things in this course. All right, so let me log into the Matrix Linux server, and I'm there. I'm going to see where I am, and I see that I'm in the PMDIR directory, which is where some of my files are. So if you want to start and actually create a brand new file, so to start editing, so the file does not exist and you want to create it and put data into it, then you can simply invoke the VI editor with VI and put the file name. That will bring up a blank file, and then you can start putting data into that. So let me show you that. So if I say VI file1, that means if file1 exists already, it's going to bring that up. But in my case, it does not exist. So it's going to create it and give me a blank screen. So when I hit enter, it's given me a blank screen. At the bottom here, it tells me it's called file1 and it's a new file. So the first thing you want to do here is hit the escape key because that gets you into the right mode. So whenever in doubt, in VI editor, you cannot break anything with the escape key. Hit the escape key so you're in the right mode. It doesn't hurt. Nothing goes wrong. And it prevents you from wondering, am I in the right mode? Should I do this? Should I not do this? Just hit the escape key. So after the escape key, now I'm going to say I for insert. Escape I. And notice at the bottom it's now saying insert, which means I'm ready to type. So I can just go type now. I can type data into this file. This is the second line, and so on. So I can just type like a regular, like you would regularly type. Hit enter, goes to the next line. I can hit enter again, create an empty line, and type another line here, and so on. Let's say I'm done. That's all I wanted to type. So I've started a new file. I said VI file1. I went into the input mode and with the escape key, and I said I for insert, and I was able to type. I'm just going to go all the way down here and show you that, let's say that's all I wanted to type. How do I save it? and which means how do I write onto disk? I can either save it under the same name, which is file1, or I can save it under a different name, sort of like save as, and give a new file name. So if I just want to save, it's W for write. That's easy way to remember, W for write. And if I want to save under a new name, then it's W and the new file name. All right. So let's save this. So escape. And I'm going to go down with the colon. So you see how the cursor comes all the way down. So escape colon, because where am I? I'm in this last line mode. See this one? Escape colon. That's where I am. So I'm down here. I can say W. Now I've saved what I got. If I just hit W and hit enter, it tells me 4 lines have been written, 74 characters, and I'm still in file 1. What if I wanted to come out? So let's say I'm done and I want to come out. So I want to quit. So I can save and quit, which is W and Q. Or if I made a mess and I want to just not save anything and come out, I can go Q followed by an exclamation mark. So in this case, I'm going to W and Q to write and quit. So escape colon to come down, W and Q to write and quit. So I'm out now at the command prompt. If I do a cat of file 1, it shows me this is what I just typed. So I had 2 lines here, blank line, and a 4th line here. I'm going to now bring up another file that I have, and we're going to use that. So let me actually copy a file. So let me clear this. I'm going to copy a file which I've called comma file. I'm going to copy it into comma file 2. So I'm going to use comma file 2, which has some data in there, to show you other aspects of what you can do in terms of copy, paste, delete, and so on. So instead of doing a cat, well, I'll do a cat just to show you the content. So comma file 2. So this is a file that you may have, a comma delimited file, for example, where I have first name, email address, phone number, the yearly income, and the city. And so there's 4 records here. Now, it doesn't matter what that data is. We're just going to see how we can edit that. All right. So it's an existing file. So when I say VI and give the name of the file, then instead of giving me a new file, it's going to find that it's already there. So it'll bring up the existing data. All right. So there we go. I'm now inside that file I just showed you. And again, the first thing you want to do is escape. And that way you're in the right mode. Now, what do we want to do here? Let's look at some of the commands here. So let's say we wanted to do a copy and paste. So maybe we want to copy 2 lines or 1 line and paste it down below. So to do a copy and paste, the command that we're going to do is YY. So think of, how do you remember that? Instead of C, it's actually a Y. So think of it copy, think of it as a yank. You're yanking and pasting 1 line. So Y, bring your cursor to where you want the line to be copied. So YY and P for paste. Let's take a look. So let's say I wanted to copy the second line. So I bring my cursor to the second line. That's the one I want to copy. So escape, YY, it's copied that into memory. And now I want to paste. So I want to bring it to wherever I want the paste to happen, and I press P. So the moment I press P, notice that the second line has now been copied down here. What if I want to copy 2 lines, maybe the first line and the second line? So let's see how we're going to do that. So if you want to yank or copy and then paste, well, let's say 3 lines, then instead of YY, we're going to take our cursor to the first line we want to copy and go 3YY, which is saying copy 3 lines from where the cursor is. All right, 3YY. And then you go where you want to paste it and press P. So let's do that. So you copy, go to the cursor, put your cursor on the line you want to copy, tell it how many lines you're copying, and go YY. So let's do that. So let's say I want to copy the first 3 lines. I'm going to bring my cursor all the way to the first line. Escape. 3YY. Now it's copied 3 lines. This one, this one, and this one. And it tells you that at the bottom as well. 3 lines have been yanked or copied. So now I want to tell it where to go and paste it. So I bring my cursor all the way to the end and I press P. So now it took the first, second, and third lines and copied them right here, first, second, and third. See how simple that becomes if you kind of associate the letter with what the name of that command is. So think copy, think yank, YY for 1 line, 3YY for 3 lines, P for paste. Simple. All right, let's say we want to delete a line. Again, take your cursor to the line you want to delete. If you're deleting 1 line, just press DD. If you're deleting 4 lines, press 4DD. Let me show you. So let's say I'm right here on this 1 line. Let's say I want to delete this last line. Escape and DD. See how it comes off? That last line just came off. If I wanted to delete 3 lines, that means this one, and this one. These 3 lines I want to delete. So I take it to this point. So it'll delete from that point onwards, 3 lines. So escape 3DD, and 3 lines are gone. See that? So again, many ways of doing it. This would be the simplest because you can remember D for delete, DD for deleting 1 line, number followed by DD to delete that many lines. You can move up and down, left or right with arrow keys, but let's say we deleted some lines and we found, oops, we didn't mean to delete it. So we can do an undo simply by pressing U. So let's go back here and I'm just going to press escape to make sure I'm in the right mode. And I'm going to go U, see, undo, U. So it brought back the 3 lines it just deleted. If I press U again, it kind of goes back and brought back the line it deleted prior to that. So undo is very easy to do. Escape and a U. So you're able to undo what you just did. We can go use our arrow keys to go right and left, up and down by using the arrow keys. It'll keep going as long as there's data. So here there's nothing beyond this, so it won't go to the right. You can't go any further from here. You can go down or you can go to the next line because that's where the data is. So I can go down, I can go left, I can go right up to this point. It won't go beyond that, which makes sense. So we did copy and paste. We did deleting a line or more lines. We moved around, up and down, left and right. We did an undo. Hopefully you're seeing how simple it is if you just stick to these very basic commands in the way that correlates it to what it's doing. Let's do the last line mode where we hit escape and a colon. That brings your cursor down to the bottom of your screen. We already did save. We already did quit. So let's do search and replace. So we go escape colon to come down, and we'll go / and put the pattern we're looking for, and that'll search forward. If we want to search backwards, it's question mark and the pattern. And N will display the next occurrence. So let's do that. So escape colon to come down, and let's say I'm looking for Markham. So I'm going to put that here, and when I hit enter, it's telling me the line where it's finding that. So this is the line which has Markham, and that's what it's finding. Escape colon to come down. Let's say I'm looking for 647. I'm looking for any phone number that begins with the 647. So now it's finding this line which has 7. If I press N, it's going here. N, it's going again to the next occurrence. N, it's hit the bottom and continuing back from the top. So I can keep hitting N to find the next occurrence. And again, what if I wanted to go from here backwards? So instead of searching forward, which it normally does with this scenario, I can go question mark and then the pattern. So that it'll go back. So escape colon, question mark, 647. And now instead of going down, it went from here to this line. And again, I can keep asking it to repeat going backwards with an N. All right. So you can search and find the next occurrence going down or going up, going forward or going back. N takes you to the next occurrence. We can also do a search and replace. So let's say we're looking for a pattern and we want to replace it with a new. So we want to search for this and replace it with this. We can do that with %s. Think of percent that you have to put before. So escape colon to come down, %, S for substitute, and then put what you're looking for, followed by what you want to replace it with. Now what G does is global, which means if you don't put G, it's only going to change one occurrence. If you put G, it changes all occurrences throughout the file. So let's try it both ways. All right, I'm going to go escape colon to go down, and I'm going to go %, S for substitute. Now let's say I'm looking for hotmail.com, which is here and here, and I want to change it to outlook.com. So I'm going to put hotmail.com. That's my existing pattern. I'm going to change it to outlook.com. That's my new pattern. So existing pattern, new pattern. And I want it done throughout the document. So I'm going to put G for global. So when I hit enter now, you notice that this became from Hotmail to Outlook.com, from Hotmail to Outlook.com. Now, the other thing you can do is if you add a C here, that stands for confirmation. So maybe you want to change one occurrence, but not both. So for that, you should put a C, which means as it wants to change the first one, it'll ask you, second one, it'll ask you, so you can say yes or no and only change some. So let's try that. I'm going to change Outlook now back to Hotmail. So escape colon to come down, %, S for substitute. Now the existing pattern right now is outlook.com, and I want to change it to hotmail.com. I want to do it globally throughout the document, but with confirmation. So let's see what happens. So see how it waits for you to respond here before changing it. So it's picked out where it found the first occurrence of outlook.com. And here, if I say yes, which I will, see how it changed it already, hotmail.com. Now it finds the next occurrence of outlook.com. And again, it's waiting for me to change it. If I say no now, it will not change this occurrence. So I'll say no and see how this did not change. So this occurrence changed, this did not change. So that's the beauty of adding C for confirmation. So you're saying substitute this existing pattern with the new pattern throughout the document, but ask me before changing each occurrence. So that can be quite useful if you don't want to change all occurrences. So as you can see, we've now looked at search and replace. We've saved and quit in the last line mode. We have done copy and paste, delete, moving around, and undo. And the first thing we learned, of course, was how to get data into the document to begin with. So just with these 10 commands, you're able to do all the common things that you need to do with an editor. So let's finally now write and quit, so that with the W and Q, so we can save what we've got here. So escape colon to come to the last line mode, and W and Q. So now if I cat this file, so comma file2, you can see it has all the changes that we did. The Hotmail change here, the Outlook.com that did not change, the copying of lines that we did. So all that was saved through the editor. All right. So hopefully this is a VI editor tutorial with no tears. So just with these 10 commands, you can be functional in the VI editor. Thank you.